Hi, this is Ron Thurston. Thanks for listening today. I'm doing a series of solo episodes right now because there are some really important conversations happening in retail. And to be honest, they're just moving too fast for me to wait for the right guest to join me in a discussion. So for a few episodes, you're just going to have me. Welcome to Retail in America. AI is shaping every single store right now. But the question I don't hear anyone asking loudly enough is what's happening to the people inside those stores? Every episode, I'm going to bring you three human truths about technology, about retail, and the people caught in between. So let's dig into what's happening today. American companies spent more than $1 trillion on technology last year. $1 trillion. And a significant portion of that, of course, went directly to AI. And yet McKinsey just published research showing that more than 60% of those companies report seeing no meaningful impact on their bottom line. Absolutely none. So what I want to talk about today and why is because I don't think the answer has anything to do with the technology. I think it has everything to do with the people we keep forgetting to invest in first, which brings me to human truth number one today. I'm calling it the investment gap. So McKinsey looked at companies across retail, manufacturing, healthcare, all industries built on frontline labor. But what they found out is striking because the average company spends $9,100 per employee on software, just on the technology. And they continue to then underspend on training for that same employee. They reported an average of $1,200 per employee, $9,000 on the tool, $1,200 on the human using it. And then we wonder why the ROI isn't there. But here's what that number tells me. Somewhere along the line, we started treating technology as the investment and people as the cost center. And I want to push back on that because I've spent more than 30 years building retail teams. And every time I inherited a struggling team, the answer was never a new system, not a new platform, not new technology. It was always the same thing. Someone had stopped investing in these people who were running the business. And I've seen it at every level. Low morale shows up, high turnover, disengaged associates. And when you really dig in, what you find is simple. No one had invested in them, not in their training, not in their growth, not in their careers, not in making them feel like they mattered. And the moment you change that, the moment you truly invest in people, everything changes. Engagement goes up, turnover goes down, and yes, the results always follow every single time. In my book, Human Pride, I write about the limitless potential of people when they feel seen, valued, and invested in. And that's not a theory. That's 30 years of me watching it happen. The frontline worker is still the most undervalued asset in retail. And that $1,200 training number is proof. And McKinsey's conclusion is simple. If AI investments are going to pay off, workers need new skills before the technology gets employed, not during the rollout, not after, but before. Build the human first, then deploy the technology. And that shouldn't sound so radical or wild, but in 2026, with AI being dropped into almost every store in America, it really does. Which takes me to human truth number two. Walmart gets it right. So here's a company doing something about this. Walmart, with its 1.6 million employees, just announced that every single one of them will receive free AI training through a partnership with Google. Frontline teams, corporate teams, everyone. 8 hours of foundational AI education available to every employee. One Walmart executive said that it's unfortunate that some companies are slashing workforces in the name of AI, while Walmart's choosing to invest in their people instead. And I recently sat down with Dave Glick, who's the Senior Vice President of Enterprise Business Services at Walmart, on an episode of the show Retail in America, which was sponsored by Microsoft. And what he shared with me was remarkable, that Walmart isn't just training people on AI, they're building AI with them, because more than 6,000 associates at that time had already been trained to build and deploy their own AI-driven solutions. Dave called them nano agents, small, purpose-built tools created by the associates themselves to solve real problems on the floor. The adoption didn't happen because leadership pushed the technology down. It happened because people pulled it in. And that distinction, pulled versus pushed, is everything right now. And when I think about the most successful technology rollouts that I've personally been a part of, that's exactly what happened. The teams that embraced the new skills weren't forced to use them. They had ownership of how it worked. They saw themselves in the solution. And when the rollouts fail, it's almost always the opposite. Someone at headquarters makes a decision, a vendor gets deployed, a training module gets sent out, and the people on the floor feel like something's being done to them, not with them. That's not a technology problem. That's a dignity problem. And yes, I understand Walmart is $1 trillion retailer, but the philosophy Dave described is available to every leader in this industry. You don't need $1 billion budget to ask your frontline team what they need. You just need to ask. Which takes me to, lastly, human truth number 3 today, which is the burnout signal nobody's talking about. And here's why all of this urgency today really matters and why I wanted to talk about it more. Because UKG recently released their second annual Global Frontline Workforce Study. They surveyed 8,200 workers across 10 countries. And the number that stopped me was this, that 76% of frontline employees reported feeling burnout in 2025. And nearly half, 47%, said that they feel like there are 2 separate cultures inside their company, one on the front line and one for everyone else. And to be honest, that actually doesn't surprise me, because I've personally experienced both cultures. I grew up in stores, spent my time on the front line, and I've sat in the boardroom. And the distance between those 2 worlds is very real. It's not imagined. It's not a perception problem. It's a structural reality in many organizations. And here's what concerns me most about deploying AI into that environment. If nearly half of your frontline team already feels disconnected from the people making decisions about their future, and then you drop in a new AI system on them without their input and without their training and without their trust, you don't actually close that gap. You make it worse. No scheduling platform fixes a culture problem. No AI tools solve their invisibility to you. That starts somewhere much more basic. It starts with executives asking themselves a simple question. When was the last time I spent a full day on the floor? Not observing, not touring on a store visit, actually working alongside the people serving your customers. Because after decades of doing exactly that, I can tell you something with confidence. The answers to your biggest business challenges are often already there. You just have to show up and ask. So here we are, $1 trillion in technology, $1,200 invested in the humans using it. That gap right there is where retail's future gets decided. The frontline worker is still the most undervalued asset in this industry. And the companies that will figure that out before the AI investments, not after, are the ones that are going to win. So that's a wrap on this episode of Retail in America. If there's something that I've said that made you think differently about you, your team, your technology, or the people on the front line, share this episode with someone who should hear it. And you'll find links to all the reports I mentioned today in the show notes. And if you haven't already, follow, subscribe wherever you're listening. It's the best way to make sure that you don't miss a future episode. Again, I'm Ron Thurston. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you soon.